The crusades began around 1000 AD and was launched by Pope Urban II. And he, or maybe he was the third, one of those guys. But he was the Pope of the Catholic Church at the time, and Europe was all under control of the Catholics under the Holy Roman Empire out of Germany. And so the call to war in the Crusades was launched in an endeavor to free Jerusalem of Islam. Remember, Islam took over Jerusalem in 600 AD, 400 years before the Crusades. And they ran the Jews out of Israel. Islam did. And the Jews began their wandering through Western Europe, Germany, Russia, Poland, France, the entire Western Europe. And the Western Europe was Christian. It was Christian white people. And they were seeing more and more of Jews coming into Europe. And the Pope was faced with a dilemma. These people belong in Israel. They don't belong in a Christian white Western world. And so Pope Urban decided that what we have to do is fight Islam, defeat Islam in Jerusalem, and in Israel, and let the Jews return back to their homeland. But what was not considered was the power of Islam to sustain a war against these people. You got to realize Islam practically took over Europe. It invaded Spain for hundreds of years. It enslaved Spain. It was right on the border of France, and there was many campaigns launched to tear down to enslave Christian white people in Western Europe, England and France and Germany. And so the Catholic Church rose up in power and defeated Islamic armies who were trying to invade Europe, but went on and launched a campaign to attack Islam in Jerusalem, because the third holy site in Islam is mounted in the Temple Mount right there in Israel. When Islam took over, the third most highest shrine is in Temple Mosque is in the Al-Aqsa Mosque right there in Jerusalem. And that was to show the superiority over Jews and Judaism. And to this very day, the Al-Aqsa Mosque is there in Jerusalem, and the Wailing Wall is right next to it. And you have Judaism constantly sticking a thumb in the eye of Islam in Jerusalem, with these two religions meeting right there at the that is where Abraham was supposed to have died, and that's where Abraham, that's where the Muslims claim Abraham ascended into heaven, was from that place. That Temple Mount is what it is. It was Solomon's temple in the Holy Bible. But your Crusades was launched by the Christian white people in Western Europe, and the object was to return the Holy Land to the Jews. And we couldn't sustain a war against Islam because Islam is mighty powerful. Today Islam has 1.4 billion members, and the Christians have 2 billion. But you have to realize that during this time era, there was only a few thousand Christians in Europe, white Christians in Europe compared to the millions of Muslims in the area around Jerusalem, and we just could not sustain a war. We was able to go in there and win 3 campaigns. There was three basic launches of wars, and all 3 we was able to win over Islam, but sustaining that war with the few people we had was impossible. And the Jews, well, that's how the Jews ended up in Europe, and that's how the Holocaust ended up happening. Why the Holocaust happened? Because the Jews began strangulating the white Christian people in their own land, and it wasn't just the Germans who pogromed them. You look up the pogroms and you see in Poland, in France, in England, in Germany, in Russia, in Hungary, all of these nations, these white Christian nations, ran the Jews out. They had nowhere to go, so they put them in these little ghettos. And the whole crusades was an effort to make it possible for the Jews to peacefully return back to their land and leave the Christian Western white world. It never happened because we lost this war with Islam, and Islam has kept a thumb in the eye of the Jews ever since they took over the Holy Land in 600 AD. And the Jews now are not backing down. They have the upper hand with the with the United States backing them, so they are on a campaign now to rid the world of Islam. And the Christians in this world, they're on their destiny is to eventually war with Islam. The Christian white people in the Western world are destined to war with Islam because Christianity and Islam are opposing religions. They're not compatible. One believes that Jesus Christ, the Holy Father, God, and the Holy Bible is the one who is supposed to rule in the Holy Land, and Islam has staked their claims and said the Holy Land belongs to them, and so there goes the world. Every nation you see in the world that Islam is fighting in, you also see the Christians are fighting there too. So how do you handle the issue between the Christians and the Muslims? The wise thing to do is to try to make peace with the Muslims, try to show them that Jesus Christ is compatible with Islam if they will just simply unite together in one peaceful worldwide effort, and the Islamic people can live side by side with the Jews, and the Jews could live side by side with the Christians in a peaceful world. But there's always going to be minorities in every group. Jews, Christians, and Muslims, who are going to go out here and stir up shit with their neighbor. And what happens is you create wars this way.